Alright guys, today we can take a look at the next champion of the Echoes of Oz campaign, and it's gonna be the Cowardly Lion. Oh wait, hold on, this is the wrong one. There we go, this is the right one. As you can see, he has a very funny look to him, kind of a surprised expression in his face, but I love the design, it's very rich in details. I really like the shield on his back. Overall, as always, insane work on the design. So far, we revealed the Witch, which is going to be the event dungeon boss, a Dorothy, the login, a loyalty champion, and then now the Cowardly Lion, which will be a mixed fusion event, okay? So next Wednesday, August the 19th, in about a week, we're planning to launch a mixed fusion event of a new Echoes of Oz champion, the Cowardly Lion. Now, what does that mean? A mixed fusion event, you collect fragments for epics. You fuse those epics, you have to level them up to a rank 5, ascend them, and then you can fuse them into the legendary champion, the Cowardly Lion. So now let's take a look at the kit. Here we can see it. So he's a defense-based legendary champion from the Skinwalkers faction with magic affinity, which I'm kind of happy about that they put this champion in the Skinwalkers faction. Anything else wouldn't make sense. Magic affinity also pretty good, and defense based, okay, that is amazing. So the A1 is called Leonine Pounce, attacks one enemy 3 times, a triple hit on the A1. We're off to a good start here. The damage inflicted by this skill increases by 10% for each skill successfully activated by allies and enemies under fear or true fear debuffs. Stacks up to 100% more damage. Each hit steals 5% of the target's turn meter. You also can book it 3 times for additional 30% more damage. Now, what does that mean? Every time that someone still uses their skills, even though they are feared, he will get 10% more damage on this A1, and you can stack it 10 times. And as long as the fight goes on, he will not lose the damage, okay? So as long as you're in the battle, this damage will ramp up. Okay, so pretty cool actually. For like longer fights, you definitely have a good chance here to ramp up a lot of damage. Now the A2, Primal Roar, is an AoE attack, attacks all enemies before attacking, places a 60% increased defense buff and a fervor buff on all allies for 2 turns. Will ignore 20% of each target's defense. Has a 75% chance, if booked, it's going to be a 100% chance of placing a true fear debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. So I like that he's self-buffing. So for one, he has the increased defense before he attacks. He's defense-based. That means he's going to push his own damage. Then he's going to buff a fervor buff, which adds another 10% damage. And then he will ignore 20% of each target's defense, which is a lot of defense integrated into this skill. So if you build him in lethal, for example, or you give him a cat's gaze, you will stack a lot of def ignore here, and you can probably reach the 100% def ignore with this A2, right? So pretty amazing skill. And then on top of that, you also have a very annoying control debuff, which is True Fear. Now, obviously, in the current meta with Total Guard and everything, it's really hard to place debuffs unless you have a chance or option to get rid of those Total Guard stacks and then apply debuffs. So you kind of have to have a setup to, make use of debuffs like this, and control debuffs in general. You need 5 books for this skill. You can book the cooldown down to 3, and you can get 20% more damage on top. So overall, I really like this A2. I think it's going to be amazing. I hope his multipliers are good. Then we might have a very, very solid fusion here, okay? Now, let's take a look at the A3. Strength in the Pack. Places a counterattack buff and a 30% reflect damage buff on all allies for 2 turns. And it has a passive effect. While under these buffs from this champion, allies will ignore shield and strengthen buffs when counterattacking. Allies will also ignore shield buffs when reflecting damage. Interesting, so your reflect, the damage you're reflecting will bypass shield. I can kind of see a synergy with Brogni here, right? The reflected damage will ignore shield buffs, and then counter attack is pretty strong. So I assume the best way to build this guy is probably in Mercurial. If you have total guard stacks, you put up the counter attack. Every time he gets attacked, he's gonna counter attack with a triple hit, which is kind of amazing. I really like this, and as long as he has those two buffs, he's also ignoring shield and strengthen. I think shield is the more important one here, but strengthen is also not bad. Overall, I think this skill is okay, but not too crazy. I do like the counter attack though. You can book it down to a 3-turn cooldown. Okay, only 2 books. So far it's 10 books, all right? Not bad. Now let's take a look at the passive. True Courage. Active effect, whenever a fear or true fear is placed on this champion, removes all debuffs from this champion, resets all cooldowns, and activates an instant turn effect on this champion. I like this. So he's immune to fear. Who can fear in the current PvP meta? We have Fabian. He's probably the most popular one with the fears, right? If you revive, it's really annoying actually. But other than that, I can't think of another one right now. But he's placing fear himself, right? So it's not too bad to have this integrated. So I guess if someone has a wand and it gets reflected onto him, he kind of just shrugs it off and gets another instant turn. Is that how it would work? I have no idea. But let's say you have a turn, you use the A2, you try to place the fear, it gets reflected by the wand, or let's say a deflection set or whatever. Does he get an instant turn straight away when that happens? That really interests me. I would like to test that. That would be amazing, actually. The passive effect of this passive is whenever this champion is under fear or true fear debuffs, their skills will always activate. So the instant turn has a 4-turn cooldown, I guess, and the passive effect doesn't, I believe. So he's kind of immune to fear, which is cool. It does make sense with this character. It definitely works pretty well in this whole lore of the Cowardly Lion. Increases the chance of enemy skills not activating when they are under fear or true fear debuffs by 15%. If there are multiple champions on the team with this skill, only one will activate. This skill will not activate on duplicate copies of this champion if this particular champion is dead. Okay, so he's increasing the chance that other or enemy champions get feared by 15%. He's kind of immune to fear, and if he gets feared like the first time, he will get an instant turn. After that, he will kind of just ignore the effect of fear and true fear, which is pretty cool, because if that happens, like if he gets the fear and he still uses his skills, which he will do, then he's increasing the damage of his A1 by 10%, right? It doesn't matter if the allies or the enemies activate their skills when they are feared or true feared, he will still ramp up damage. So overall, I think it's an amazing champion. I really like the kit. He's self-buffing. They're trying to make him a damage dealer, so the only thing that needs to happen here is that he's dealing enough damage. That is the most important part. So I hope the multipliers are good. Defense-based is always amazing for PvP and in general, because that means they will be tankier, right, than attack-based champions. Now we just gotta wait to see how much damage he can do, maybe from the test servers. And yeah, I'm really curious. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think this guy will deal a lot of damage? I mean, he's self-buffing and he has a fervor buff and he ignores defense. So everything is pointing towards, yes, he will deal enough damage, but you never know what the multiplier is going to look like. So we got to wait and see. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you enjoyed this video, YouTube's going to think that you like this one as well. Take care and see you in the next one.